Alcoholic Addict.
Whoa! Crap, we're live! Welcome to Recovering Addict. I'm LT and I'm an alcoholic addict. How is everybody doing tonight?
Hey everybody, I'm Felice, married to this wonderful man next to me.
How you doing now?
Yeah.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Not too bad. Well, welcome to Recovering Addict. This is a show about alcohol addiction, meth addiction, any type of addiction, sex addiction, opiate addiction, whatever, video game addiction. If you're addicted to anything, if you have mental health problems, we are here to help facilitate a support system for y'all. We're an educational channel. We interview people who come on who've been addicted to certain various different types of stuff. And we have over 16 hours plus of live streams and Zooms and classwork we do together per week. And then we have a 24-hour support through the Discord right here. If you guys are not in the Discord, jump in the Discord and join us. It's where the rubber really hits the road, and we really get to know each other. And the more we know each other, the better we are at understanding where we're at in recovery. This is Billy. Hi, Billy. Welcome to the show.
I can't even look at you.
Oh, my goodness. Look at Billy and her awesome blonde hair.
She's beautiful.
And y'all may be wondering, what the heck, it's Thursday. Where's Jake? I talked to Jake, and since this is part 2 of an interview basically that we've already started with Bree from last Sunday, he's like, y'all just go ahead and take it. And Jake's going through some moves and transitions at home as well as us. And so, we just kind of decided to jump in here today. And we're going to have Bree on. She's going to jump in here a little bit and tell us about what she's going through. So Bree from Breaking Chains is going to join. That might be dead.
It's probably dead. I tried.
Thanks, babe. From Breaking Chains. She was here last Sunday, so if you got to catch that interview, you saw that we ended somewhere in her 20s, and she's partying and addiction and some crazy stories through a bunch of different type of rehabs. And now we're going to learn how she got into full-time recovery and started her channel and foundation, Breaking Chains. You can find her on Facebook, and I will drop those links shortly. But yeah, she's doing awesome. She's joining the team. We're joining her team, and I think there's big things in the future with us collaborating and some good stuff. I talked to her on the phone for like 40 minutes today, and she's just got that same passion we all do here at Recovering Addict to just provide a place for people that need help, whether that be mental health or addiction or just anything. We want to help you find your true identity of like what you are inside that's going to make you happy the rest of your life. We live a short time on earth, and if you think about some of our age, what I'm talking about myself here, I wasted a lot of it trying to figure out who I was, partying, trying to figure out, what's the world teaching me? What do I got to do next? Is it get a 9-to-5? Is it buy a house and have kids? Is it to do that? Is that the American dream? Is that going to make me happy? And during that time, trying to figure myself out, I get into partying and drugs, meth addiction, which I ended up getting a felony, which made life a little harder for me, but that's what it is. And then I figured it out. And then and then became a belligerent drunk later in life. And then that's not who I wanted to be. I did have a good job. I was on my second house, which we're in right now. My second, after being a felon, high school dropout and stuff. I got a position in the Air Force, which was a good position, like pat yourself on the back, you've arrived. Got my good credit and bought a house. Like I said, we're on our second house, and became a blackout drunk, and I was like, no, this isn't happiness either. And so now look, and maybe it's a midlife crisis thing. I don't know, maybe y'all can help me out. But I hit 40, and I'm like, is that really like what life's about? Like I wake up and go to work 9-to-5, and so through our addiction, we're just trying to find out what's going to make us happy in life. And so I believe that the rest of my life, the last half of my life, I'm going to live in a way that I'm not going to hit 90 and have regrets. I should have tried this. I should have tried that. I'm going to live in a way that's going to make me happy, and obviously I'm not going to do anything to jeopardize those around me. I'm going to be responsible and do the things a human should do. But, I'm just going to be happy, and that's what we have to offer here at Recovering Addict.
I figured it out.
Figured it out. I've been watching that show so much I can't, I almost go right into talking like them. It's funny. So yeah, that's kind of what we have to offer here is just a bunch of support and love for each other and, a place to really figure out who you are.
Figured out.
Figured out who you are. So Bree's here, and we're gonna bring her on and catch up and see how the heck she's doing. What's up?
I'm gonna share the links to her stuff right now.
Hey,
hear us
how
good?
you doing, guys? Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, good. Those mics
Feel
are
like
hot.
That didn't work.
Okay,
Kind
so
of,
Leslie,
uh,
hold on 2 seconds. Let me ask Leslie a question. Leslie, does that mean our mics are really, really super loud? Do you have to turn your volume down like halfway?
Hold on, let's test it.
Leslie, does that mean our mics are really, really super loud? All right, let me turn them down just a hair. Go ahead. Okay, sorry about that, Bree. Those
Oh,
mics
that's
are
all right.
on fire.
I'm echoing too.
Yeah, Felice just did a thing.
Yeah, let me know if it sounds better in a minute. How about now? How about now? How about now?
Okay, let's see. Still echoing a little bit.
Do you have 2 browsers open by chance?
Oh, let's see, probably.
Sometimes StreamYard will open twice and you end up looping yourself. And
Just
you're on-
like,
you
no,
sound
they're
good
great.
on us.
That's what she meant by fire.
Okay, so I should turn it back up?
Everybody had to turn their phones up.
I'm going to turn it back up, blow their
All right.
speakers.
Turn your
Boom!
phones.
There
Turn your
goes
phones down.
Alright, cool.
You've been warned.
So, Bri, I was just telling him how
Alright.
awesome you are and breaking chains and your foundation and all the stuff. I told him a little bit about our conversation about some of the stuff. I didn't tell any details. Oh my god, super loud. Sorry, Raylene, if we blew out your speakers. You'll figure it out.
Figure it out.
Well, yeah, I'm super excited. I think this is going to be awesome. I'm still echoing. Let me get a headset. That might make it a lot better.
Yeah, you sound good on our side.
Yeah, sometimes mine does that. 1 second.
No worries. We'll be here. We're just messing around with our microphones.
That's okay. Apparently I am too.
Yeah, so I didn't tell him anything about like the halfway houses you want to start and all that kind of stuff, but I just kind of did right there. But I'll let you get into that. And when you get back,
Okay.
get all your stuff for a die. Hey, everybody, is that you?
Hmm?
Cool. That's her channel right there that just commented Breaking Chains, the Whitney Project. She's echoing. So it is echoing on their side, not ours. Weird.
She's echoey.
Echoing and bad. All right, we'll try to figure this out, y'all.
But we're not echoey?
I doubt it.
Yeah, we
It
should
might
be.
just be me.
We shouldn't be echoey. Our audio, I hope, is pristine. We should have amazing audio. Merc, can you give me an audio check and tell me your honest opinion? Do we sound like we're in a tin can? Are we echoing? What is going on? I hear the echo too. Bad echo.
Give it 10 seconds.
Okay, so it's not just me.
You know what? Alright, so here we go.
Let me see if
It's
it's...
the problem.
Yeah, I don't hear myself now.
Okay, there we go.
All right, cool.
Sounded canny.
Yay.
Shit.
Jeanette said it's good.
I hate shitty audio. It pisses me off.
I know. That was like my first 3 interviews were all bad echo.
Okay, I think I got it figured out. I think I got it
All
figured out.
right. Well, that's good. So now we can start here. I feel like I'm also got this weird light on my camera here. Okay, cool. So, hi guys. I'm Bree. Obviously, you met me the other day when I came on here. So, I am in the process of trying to open a counseling center in Pennsylvania, as well as we do have a halfway house currently. It's a 3/4 house in New York, but we plan on opening many, many more under the same name. And we're going to team up with multiple groups and partnerships in order to kind of get this thing going on a bigger scale so we can support the community and other communities that we're associated with, like you guys, for example.
Heck yeah. I love it. I've been like pumped all day about it.
I know.
Me and Green Eyed Cat were talking. We had a good hour conversation in Zoom and took over the whole meeting. Nobody was even talking but us two about what we could possibly get done here, you know.
I mean, it's just the possibilities are endless. And that is one of the biggest things that recovering addicts do not understand, that we have this limitless capability to turn our, manipulative ways into something really amazing. Because obviously, we did all these things to get drugs, to get money, to fund our habits. So now we can do those things and take great lengths in order to help people and to be able to make a living off it, and that's a big part of it. A lot of us can't get jobs when we come into recovery. Some people have felonies. Some people, have this past of selling drugs and they don't know how to, use those skills that they found to become, responsible adult, reacclimating into the community. And I promise you that there is a place for you in this community, whether it's in the recovery community or not. But I'm going to tell you, the recovery community has a lot of space available for peer counselors. We need regular counselors. You want to go be a nurse, go be a nurse. I mean, a lot of people will work with you if you're honest about what your past is and where you're at now, as long as you're showing improvement and you're willing to fulfill your dream.
Yeah, that's so true. I love that, because when I was a meth addict, oh my gosh, was I good at manipulation, hustles and schemes. That's all I did. Like, that was like my reason to live, was to scheme to stay and get high. And now I've turned that into a positive energy on, technology and working with people. And it's just, it works out the same, like our hustles worked. We got some done, we did some crazy stuff, but this more positive way, it grows so much more better. And I love it.
I know. It's like we learn all these things in our addictions that help us to continue our addictions. And there's ways to turn those, negative things we learned into positives. There's always a way to transport that energy into something good. But a lot of people think because they've been looked at, negatively by the community or by stigma, that they can't use that in a good way because they're afraid of themselves. They're afraid of failure. A lot of people, they realize that if they come from here to here, that's a longer way to fall. And that's a big problem for people. They're like, okay, if I keep going up the ladder and I don't trust in myself, then when I fail, I'm going to fail and lose a lot more. So they tend to relapse at an early time because they have less to lose. And responsibility is a huge issue with addiction. We hate responsibility, at least I do. But at the same time, I've learned to not exactly love it, but I've learned that as I become more confident in my responsibilities, the bigger ones aren't as hard to get through. And then you get a bigger one and it's not as hard, but it really has to do with being organized, managing your time, and, taking care of your mental health. Because if you're a mental health mess, then it is really hard to try to, segregate your mental health from reality and then try to do things in your regular life that are, comparatively normal to other people. So there's a lot of things that go into that. But once you're a year or two in, you start to actually see more clearly. You start to kind of forget that addict side of you, and you just reacclimate. You find these dreams that you had maybe when you were 10, 12 years old. They come back to life, and you realize you can do those things.
Yeah, I remember when I figured out, because I remember, because I looked at my father and the life he lived, and it wasn't much to, as far as society's concerned, to pat yourself on the back for: multiple jobs, failure, marriage, all that stuff, right? Horrible father. But then I figured, oh my God, that's going to be me. So I always felt stupid. I always felt like I was going to be a loser my whole life. And I remember the first time I figured out I was actually kind of good at math. And I was like, oh my God, I'm actually kind of good at math. And I thought I was a math idiot. So I just sleep through class,
Yeah, I know that feeling.
Us addicts are a lot smarter than we give ourselves credit for.
I hate to say it, but the smartest people I've met were addicts. And I think that's because we can't deal with reality in the simplest form. Like, we have to overcomplicate every single process there is. It's like we have to deeply think into it. We overcomplicate it. We mess it up. And then we decide that it's too much for us. So then we're like, okay, I'm going to sleep through class because I don't believe in this. I'm going to do this because, you know what I mean? It's like we always want to do something else. We always feel like we're not in that center path. And we're usually very smart and different minded. And that is something I see a lot with addicts. I do. And it's awesome because I'm like, look at your potential. But it makes me a little angry when I meet someone and they have so much potential and they continue to throw it away on drugs. And even though part of me understands it, the other part of me, like, I see the beauty in you and I want you to grow, but they don't believe they can grow. And that's where this counseling and whatnot is going to help these people. And we can start running online programs that are going to offer counseling. You know, if you can't go out of your home because you're afraid of COVID or you have a weakened immune system, you know, we're going to have options for everybody. And that's going to be the biggest part of this, is hitting the populations that don't have all the options we have.
One-stop shop, wherever you need it. Instant support 24 hours a day. I'm excited.
I am too. Don't worry. I've been looking up everything I need to do. I'm finally getting some of those pieces together. So
I gave Amber your number too, so she should hopefully be contacting you. She takes a couple days to check your emails and stuff, but
welcome to my life. That's okay.
Daniel Miller, welcome to the show. I'm glad you're here. How are you doing? He says it's hard for us to see what other people see in us.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Because we're filled with all that guilt, shame, and, you know, all those things that we feel and believe in our perspective on life. So we have this kind of lens that we see through. And if we don't understand the lens, if we don't, you know, identify it, then we have no way to see through it or to get rid of it, you know. So that is a thing. Our confidence is shit sometimes.
Yeah, we got to figure out how to help people. Like if we design a course eventually, you know, because I'm looking at, because I've started a class already, and I want to whittle it down to figuring out how to help people find their true identity and find themselves. Give them a way to find who they are without the world telling them what to do. You know,
finding a purpose. I think that is like the ultimate, you know, thing for everybody, is finding your purpose. If you do not have your purpose set, then you're always like on this path. I just had a lisp there for a minute. But, you know, you kind of like swerve in and out, and then you kind of feel like you're off. And once you find your true like calling, it feels so vibrant. Like it feels like you resonate with it so well. And I think everybody needs to feel that. But also I think some people need to go through some traumas and some obstacles to get there. So, you know, there's a lot to it. I feel like we all have a destination, though, and something that we're supposed to do with our, you know, experiences and, you know, our threshold in life and where we've been and what we've done. But yeah, I agree. I was thinking about starting a class too. I was looking at the master class things online on the Facebook ad. Yeah, I'm like, maybe I'll do one of those. We'll just add another thing to my list of things I can't get done yet, but we'll try.
That's funny. We just applied for a grant through Masterclass. That'd be cool if we got it, because then we could share the link with you.
Yep.
Yep.
We're able to share it with 50 people or something like that.
We have to have like 50 people. I'm like, ooh.
Oh, that's awesome.
So if we end up getting this grant from Masterclass, you'll be in on that too.
Yeah.
Oh, yay. I know. I'm like, oh, this is, dude, those grants are insane, you guys. Like, you guys don't understand how many grants right now are being given to the addiction industry. It is insane. And they're not going to be here forever. So if you're somebody that's looking into this, I mean, this is the time to go for it. This is the time.
Yeah, there's this whole paradigm shift on mental health, mental awareness, even far back as to, like, if you look at Netflix, I started watching that Britney Spears thing, and I caught like 10 minutes of it, but it was talking about, we weren't talking about mental health like we are now, and that was only 10 years ago.
Yeah, 2000s. Yeah. That's like 20 years.
So much, 20 years ago. Holy shit. But I mean, even if it's 20 years, whatever. No, it's a little over 10.
Well, we weren't. The stigma was so much worse.
But now,
like you had to.
Oh no, go ahead.
No, you're fine. Listen, you just gotta interrupt me. That's like the best way.
Same.
I try to tell people, just interrupt me. I won't be mad. But yeah, I guess it's like we all had to kind of keep everything shoved down. You know, if you talked about your feelings, you were crazy. I mean, even think of the thoughts of like suicidal ideation, right? They say if you have ideations, you know, you're supposed to be institutionalized. But if you think about it, as far as suicidal thoughts goes, a lot of people have them normally. And that's a part, like they almost have them intrusive thoughts. Wow, that was bad grammar. But they have those intrusive thoughts and they come and go and they think they're nuts and then they don't talk about it. And then it becomes bigger and bigger. And sometimes that can be a thing where, you know, almost everyone goes through it at some point. But you need to talk about those things. And everybody, you know, at one point was so scared to come to anyone about those things. And now even addiction treatment is so regular that we can post on Facebook, I just went to addiction treatment. Yay. And everybody's like, 300 likes for you, sir. You know, it's crazy, but it's good because it's starting to, you know, some people are like, oh, you shouldn't get attention for your recovery. Well, why not? Why should that person have to feel like they can't talk about their success? That's a success. Someone who's come from the, you know, living under a bridge is now out of a treatment center completely clean and able to come home and be a father or a parent or a sister or brother or whatever they want to do. And someone else is like, you're just doing this for attention on Facebook. And it's like, okay, sad Sally, it is time for you to go to rehab. But
I was talking to somebody the other day and she was feeling a little down, but I was like, you're like a warrior. Like anybody who struggles with addiction is seriously like a warrior in my book because it's a daily struggle and it's a hard thing to deal with. And a lot of people don't understand, especially if you're not addicted. Like I was like, you're a warrior in my book.
Yeah, a lot of people just see the addict as somebody who made bad choices. They don't realize the tragedies a lot of times that are behind it. You know what I mean? The trauma and all that stuff.
I mean, it's like such a complex thing. Like it seems like it's not. It seems like you're just, you know, shoving a needle in your arm or choosing to smoke this or, you know, but it's really not like that. It starts small sometimes and then it adds up and you have people that literally were, you know, perfectly good students, came from a decent background, people that are doctors, people that own companies. Like you see them in these situations when they finally go to rehab or they finally admit to it, you know what I mean? And people are like, they're more forgiving over those people than the people that that they see as the addict. And the thing is like, I understand both sides. And it's hard because as the, you know, significant other of the addict, the person who's, you know, creating horrible choices and, you know, this atmosphere of like being scared all the time. Is it going to happen again? Is it going to happen again? You almost become in this mindset where you're so scared. And I didn't realize that until I went through that after, like in my recovery, going through that with someone else. And it's really traumatizing. I mean, it is probably one of the most traumatizing things I've ever been through. Honestly, on a scale of 1 to 10, it's probably like a 9. And that is crazy to think because we're so selfish in our disease that we only see ourselves. We see nothing else. And we think, poor us, poor me, victim mentality. And yes, it's horrible. Yes, we have these deep, complex cycles that we've yet to break, that we've yet to work through. But the person that's literally not choosing to pick up the drug and the person that doesn't have the same mindset, that is doing the responsible things to pick up the slack of the other person, that person is the one who's affected secondhandly for no reason because they choose to love you. And that's what's really sick because then the whole house goes down. And that's why it's a family disease, because when you're in recovery and you're doing better and, you know, your cravings are slowly going away, they're secretly sitting there wondering if you're high every day and they don't want you to take the car and they're wondering where you went and everything is just becoming this thing. And then you get mad because you feel like you're being accused of using. And then it goes back and forth and back and forth. And it's trauma on both ends. And
hey, Brandon Molson, how you doing, brother? Just saying hi to somebody.
It's okay.
Yeah, you're right. It is. It's just back and forth. I kind of want to jump back to a little topic we were on there just a second ago. Welcome, Brandon, to the show. And then I want to introduce you to John V. But I've been saying for like the last 8 months, I think Anonymous, the Alcoholics Anonymous and the Narcotics Anonymous, I think that Anonymous word is going away.
Oh, it's like gone.
Yeah, I love it. And at first, people were a little like, "What? No, the traditions, this and that." And I'm like, "No, I love AA, I love NA, but this is a whole nother evolution of recovery that's coming your way." And the guy on the screen right now, he says, the status quo is what we have left, did not serve us well. A path onward and upward is the way we have to go on, one day at a time. So John, he does a live stream a couple nights a week too. He's a part of Recovering Addict. We're part of his team. His is called The Venture Forward. So I think you ought to talk to him too. And he's on board.
Well, hi, John.
He's beat 3 different types of addictions. And
wow, that's awesome. Congratulations. Yeah. If you want to link up or if you want to do a collaboration, just let me know. I work with these guys. I work with Pain to Purpose. I work with my page, Breaking Chains. So, I mean, there is a lot of coming together we can do in this community. And that is one of the hardest things in the recovery community is the division between people. And that is something I really want to work through is people that, you know, we need to get over that. Like, there is not no king and queen of recovery here. Everybody is so, like, you know, on their own path of like, okay, I'm the biggest ex-junkie of all. Like, that is not how this works. We are supposed to work together. It's the first thing we learn in recovery. And here we are all segregated because of money, honestly. That's really what it's about. It's about money. And that's so sad that the addict becomes a dollar sign.
yeah.
And they're not, you know, we were them. How do we not understand that?
Yep.
How do we not? But that's the thing. It's another addiction in itself. So here you are dealing with another addiction in the recovery world. It's easy to get addicted to recovery too.
Yeah,
so,
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need to band together. That's the one first thing that when I started this nonprofit, I was researching a bunch of stuff like we do, you know, and it was like a nonprofit is to not compete against other nonprofits. So if you see somebody in your community that's already got your idea as a nonprofit, just go to them and join their team. And now, So that's kind of the way that I've looked at anybody I collaborate with online as far as recovery goes. We're on the same mission. And there's how many billions of people on this freaking planet? You know, or millions, whatever.
Right.
And there's no reason to fight over who got the most subscribers or likes. It's like, let's just all build a giant community and support one another. That's why then our motto became, we recover better together.
It's true. And I think that like a lot of it is due to, you know, the patient brokering and all that stuff. And I understand that, but I feel like a lot of those people could make a decent living doing the correct things, working with the right people and becoming a part of the recovery community the right way. Or finding a center that they want to work for that's actually a good center, or finding a program or a nonprofit they can work for. Like, these people have amazing talents, and that's what makes me so sad. He's like, you see these people with beautiful talents and so much potential, and they're pouring it into something that isn't exactly ethical. And that's where we, you know, hopefully they find another version of recovery, which is the recovery from that world. And they come join our world and we can, you know, collaborate and do things that really help people, because I understand making mistakes. That's what we did in our addiction. We're going to make them in our recovery. Doesn't make us bad people, but we have to know when to stop and when to move forward and when to get over that part of our life, you know?
Yeah. So we were in your story. You'd been through a bunch of Florida rehabs and went through that cycle and moved back out, and you were just about to quit. I don't think we'd gotten to your sister's part yet. You want to pick up and kind of recap up to there and then move on into how you got into recovery and what Breaking Chains is all about and how it's evolved to where your vision is now?
Yeah, so I went to Florida. I attended about like 22 centers, something along that lines. You know, I was paid to relapse, you know, put in bad places. Not all of them were bad. A lot of times it was a person or an entity, you know, trying to pay me to go somewhere else and so forth to get kickbacks off insurance. And then I came home after, I think, 4 months in Florida. And I ended up using as soon as I got home, because I really didn't stop using the whole time I was in Florida. So once I got there, I was writing the checks. I think that's where I left off. I started writing bad checks by having guys that I didn't know pretty much cash the checks. And it was guys that I thought were coming on to me, or they're really predatory. And I felt that I had an excuse to do this because I was a young girl and they expected me to like either sleep with them or so forth for a check, which made no sense because all they're doing is cashing it. As I'm saying, I have no ID. And there was no funds in the accounts for the checks. So I ended up racking up like $50,000 in bad checks. I tried paying some people back, but at that point I was too far gone. And I ended up going to jail like I suspected. I prayed on it, gone to jail. And I felt very liberated. That was like the first time that I was scared, and I tried to manipulate myself out of jail by talking the judge into the fact that I was going to detox, even though I really wasn't, blah, blah, blah. But I still remember thinking, like, I'm just glad it's over. Like, it's just finally over, And then a few weeks later, my sister gets a charge for unlawful imprisonment. She had locked my mom in a bathroom for not giving her money for like half the day. And my grandma called the cops, so she got arrested, and we were in jail together. Sister, right? And she was like next to me in the jail cells. And I mean, I'm not going to say that I had this like horrific time in jail, because I didn't, but that was because I know how to adapt to my surroundings. And I made quite a few friends, and I met some really amazing people that were in really bad situations. Like, some of them just couldn't pay parking tickets. Like, there was a mom with 6 kids, and I remember she kept crying about her kids, and the boyfriend kept taking the money that she needed to pay for the tickets. And other people were just addicts. They were people that had used and committed crimes. And I ended up, telling the DA's office, like, I need help. I really need help. I want to go to rehab, because I knew I was screwed. Like, I'm like, I make it out of this without going to prison. Like, that is just good enough for me, And they tried. I tacked on. It was like 32 charges total, which is quite a lot. And I ended up going to. I signed on to drug court. I was there for like 4 months. My sister left after 3 weeks. Unfortunately, she had broken the TV twice and was stuck in her cell for quite some time. So she didn't have a very good time there. But then I ended up going to a short-term rehab. I was there for a month. And then I ended up graduating there, and I went to a long-term rehab. And there I started dating my ex, which was, like I said, don't do that. And
do not find a boyfriend or a girlfriend in rehab, people.
Yeah, this is the biggest lesson of all. I'm going to repeat it about 9 more times, so don't do it, okay? Because I thought that was like, I don't know what I thought, but I was very insecure at that point. I just didn't feel like myself. And that was hard for me, because I really wasn't myself for years before that. But because I got so, comfortable with the mask I was wearing, I didn't want to take it off, It's like I was carrying it into my recovery. And I ran a lot of recovery meetings. I did a lot, I really tried. But the relationship part, my codependency, was getting in the way of me recovering. And then, of course, this random guy comes up to me and just pulls my chair, like me in the chair next to him. And he's like, "You're going to sit next to me." And I'm like, "Okay, that's fine." And that was the end of it. But he bought me a water. I'm not even kidding. Like, I was so impressed that this guy bought me a water. That's how bad off I was at that point in time. That, like, I was like, oh my God, he bought me a water and he's in rehab and he's broke. Like, that's really a big sacrifice, guys. That's just, I don't know. The stuff that like, it's so crazy how, like, you're in rehab and it's like everybody's like a child, they're like, oh, who's the prettiest one in here? Who's the cutest guy? Like, it's so immature, it's ridiculous. But if you actually go to rehab to get clean, then you need to stick with the people that want to get clean. And there is going to be a great big divide there. You're going to see all the people who are mandated and don't want to get clean. I'm not saying they all don't, but I'm saying that may not be ready, or there's something in there that's keeping them from actually wanting to. You got people who are just there because their family or job made them go and they don't really care. And then you have the people who literally are showing they care because they're doing the work, they're going to the groups, they're making the commitment to their recovery. You can hear it in their voice. And a lot of times you're not going to want to hang out with those people because it sounds uncomfortable if you're not ready, or if you're still kind of wondering, you're on the fence. It sounds like the goody person in school, that's how it sounds. And you start to think that's not the fun thing, because everybody's laughing in the corner, talking about someone else, or they're doing the high school thing, but you need to stick with the good people that are trying and willing to do step work with you or whatever that they need to do for you to make good connections. And honestly, I think 1 in 3 people die out of a rehab within a year. So I'm just saying, don't get so close that when one of them passes away, you know, you go off and relapse, because that happens. People get really close to rehab. They're at a vulnerable point in their lives, and these people make up a very, you know, significant part of their lives that they really stick with getting clean. So that's a big part too, that, you know, I try to tell people, like, just stick with the good people. If you make friends, try to, you know, work on yourself, because that's the time to work on you. But I did really good. You know, I did good in rehab. I ended up graduating like one of their secondary programs, like first person to graduate in this amount of time. And I went to a halfway house. Halfway house is, you know, you're not quite into society yet. You might get rides uptown. You know, you have people watching you 24/7. You're with a big group of people. I mean, it was like me, who was 20 years old, with, you know, like 30 other people, which are all girls. And, you know, I'm like the youngest one there. I think I was the second youngest. So it was hard for them to, you know, when you've been back in and out of recovery over and over again, when you've been back in halfway houses, you start to get really tired. And a lot of these people were really tired, and they were really grumpy, and they were really sad. And they wanted to be home with their kids, and they didn't understand why they had failed their lives. And if you're watching this, just know that you didn't fail your life. You're still alive. You didn't fail. So you still have time to make it, no matter how old you are. There, you can go back to school. I don't care if you're 65. You have options. You know, it just comes down to what you want to do and what resources you have. So, I mean, I guess I kind of felt like I needed to do something more. Like, I wanted to work. I wanted to save money. That's when I started to realize, like, I was an adult and I needed to take care of my daughter, and I needed to do things correctly. I became president of the house. You know, you take people to meetings, you do anything that involves kind of like designating chores. And I like that because I didn't have to do them. But, you know, there's a whole thing with stability and structure that goes into halfway houses. And they really teach you how to live again, especially if you don't want to listen to rules. Especially if you hate rules, that's the best place to be, because you learn how to be an adult again, and you learn how to designate your own rules when you leave. So, you know, I guess I ended up signing up for the LPN program while I was in the halfway house. I took a bus and rode an hour away. And I remember thinking, like, I don't know how I'm going to do this, but I'm going to try. And I ended up getting in, and I thought I failed. So I'm like, okay, I'm in. That's great. Don't know how I'm going to do it yet, but we'll see. So my sister ends up relapsing. She was in a 3-quarter house, which is like a sober living facility. And she had relapsed, so they ended up sending her to the halfway I was in, and they sent me home. And this is after me being in there like 4 months. So I finally come home, and like, I have my daughter, I'm in my grandma's house with my grandfather who has Alzheimer's. I'm now taking care of him. My grandma's not feeling great. I'm in meetings 5 days a week. I'm reporting to drug court, and then the school calls me and says they have an opening in my area in a week. And I'm like, are you kidding? Like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do that, you know? And I did. I did it anyways. I'm like, all right, let's do this. And I felt so out of place for a while. At first, I really felt completely out of place. Like, these people know nothing of what I'm going through, you know? But then I started to learn it really didn't matter, because we all feel the same things. No matter the experience, we still have a lot of those emotions in common. But I remember they had, I think, like a debate on whether they should revive people that have overdosed. And I swear to God, I tore this classroom up. Like, I'm like, everybody raised their hand to say, like, they should throw addicts in jail that overdose. And I mean, you know, a lot of people kept saying, like, I wouldn't revive them. I just leave them dead in the street. I'm like, you guys want to be nurses? Are you kidding? Is this a joke? You know, like, is this a literal joke right now? And it made me so mad that, like, these people are so conformed to stigma that they literally believe that they should leave an addict lying in the road. Like, you should not be becoming a nurse if you believe that. But that's besides the point. So I end up taking care of my grandpa. He ends up passing away from Alzheimer's. that was hard because obviously, like, he was on meds, you know, there's lockbox, there's a lot to that. You know, you're dealing with narcotics. I didn't take any of them. My ex was now on crack cocaine. So he had gotten into that, and I actually had lived separately from him, and I hadn't seen him for months. Honestly, I didn't even know we were still dating, but apparently we were to him. I don't know. So I end up seeing him. He comes up, and like, this dude is just gone. He's using, and he ended up going to rehab, thankfully. But then he came back, and it kind of was this pattern for the next year of him literally getting high after a month, me yelling at him going to rehab, and the whole process starting over. So, and we were not happy either. Like, we did not get along. I really, honestly, at that point, I was so over it that I just didn't really care anymore. And I was trying to get through school. And I'm like, you know, once I get through school, I'll deal with this situation. And I ended up finishing school. I was like number 6 in my class. I did have a scholarship from Access VR. If you're in New York, you can get all your schooling paid for if you have an addiction, because technically that's a disability. So if you do have that, you can go up to them and they will basically just cover the entire cost up to, I think, $40,000. So that is amazing, right? That is awesome.
No, we don't even realize it, I don't think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they covered mine. So then I ended up getting, you know, the $10,000 back in a loan. But either way, you know, it's, if you want to go to school, there are options. And if you owe money, like because you went to school and you dropped out, you can't go back, you can go back for an LPN because it's a technical school.
What is
so
an LPN?
You don't have to pay those first. What?
What is LPN again?
Licensed practical nurse.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Mm-hmm. It's like you kind of, there's a scale. Like I used to be a CNA, which is a certified nursing assistant. Then you go to LPN, then you go to RN, then you go to BSN. So I'm getting my BSN right now. I'm in a conversion program from LPN to BSN. So it's a big money threshold difference. But yeah, I say a lot. I gotta quit doing that. So I end up I finished school. I graduate at the same time I'm graduating drug court. My teachers end up coming to bat for me in drug court, and they bring in letters saying how good I'm doing, all my grades, and they end up dropping all my charges, everything. So they drop it down to like a disorderly conduct, which is insane. I mean, like they were trying to prove that if you did well on drug court, you would get something good from the courts, because all these people were in there and they had, you know, not passed their drug test, or they were going back on a sanction. So they're like, okay, we're going to show you what happens if you do well. And there was a ton of people in this room, and I was so like, I did not see that coming. So I'm like crying. But the crazy part is I leave, and the first thing my head is thinking is, wow, you could get high and no one would know. Like, that's the first thing. And yeah, I did say disability. Addiction is considered a disability in the state of New York, but only for a temporary time period. So you can get help with your funding for housing and all that stuff if you go into your social services office, depending on what state you're in. But yeah, there is just a ton of, you know, things you can really do. And you can have something happen and it seems like you're stuck, nothing's going to come out of it. And then out of nowhere, someone literally helps you. And they do this to go out of their way just because. People will do it with no motivation behind it, all good intention. But you have to ask. And this is the biggest thing I learned in my recovery, was telling the truth, being open, and asking people for help will sometimes be the 100% best way to handle a situation. Not every single one, but quite a few of them. Yeah. It's just, you know, some people, they would rather know what you've been through than find out through someone else. It's just how it is, because then they feel like you're transparent. They can trust you. You know, it may be used against you at some point, but if you don't have anything, if you're not doing anything wrong, you're good. And that's the truth. You got nothing to worry about. So, yeah, I ended up graduating. I ended up waiting, I think, 6 months, and it was very, very hard to get my license. The state was like, yeah, I don't know. And I had to go through all these hoops to get it. I had to send them like 50 letters of recommendation. I had to make a budget They're like, can you make us a budget and show us you're not going to take money if you get your license? I'm like, where am I going to take money from a nursing home? Like, what? You know? Okay, but it's just like they don't really understand addiction that well, and they usually have nurses that have messed up and stolen a bunch of meds that end up on their program. So to have a nurse come in before, it was a new situation for them. And the day that I finally was getting my license, I remember my sister had gotten off drug court, and she said, F you guys, I'm off drug court, hell yeah, like screaming this through the house, and I'm sleeping. Like, I'm literally sleeping, and I can hear her, and I'm like, oh, no, she's off drug court. My first thought was, like, this is going to be bad. Because she had been...
We're talking about...
Yeah, she was my sister. She was just... she was going through a phase to where she had started to dabble. She was going out. She was drinking a lot. She was, taking subs off the street. She was just in this really bad state of mind, and she kept going in and speaking on panels because it was making her feel better. It was pushing her forward, but then they started taking her off the panels, and she felt like she was disconnected from the recovery world completely. And I could see that in her. Like, I could see her feeling like she was going back to her old self, calling for money constantly. And that day, she had worn my bracelet. It was like one of those Alex and Ani bracelets that have like the angel quotes on it. And she actually took it off and gave it back in the bathroom. And I remember thinking, wow, she actually returned something. She stole from me. So I'm on the phone with the people from the LPN licensing, and they were like, the third person that was accepting you, you have to go through a panel. There's 3 people, and if they all accept you, you get to get your license. But if they don't, you never get it again. You can't even reapply. At that point, you're done. You got to find a new career. They don't care that you've spent the money on the program. So he ends up saying that he was going to go on vacation for 2 months, but he had read my letter and decided to approve me. So he approves me. That hour, I find out my sister had passed away of an overdose in the back of a car. So she was in a community bank parking lot. No, I lied. It was Woodlawn parking lot. And she had decided to go out and get heroin with her boyfriend, but he didn't come. So she went by herself, and she was mad at him. She was mad at quite a few people. And she decided to do a little amount, and it killed her. And she had taken 40 gabapentin the night before. Well, I think it was 20. It was 20 and then 20 a couple days prior. So she had 40 in her system. And she died, because that's what happens. When you do that, you die. So I'm not saying that everybody that goes out and takes that amount and does heroin is going to die, but the chances of you dying anyways are already extremely high. The fentanyl rate, extremely high. Our fentanyl rate is like, I think it's 18% real heroin and the rest is fentanyl and other products. So, I mean, it was hard. It was horrible. I remember feeling like a robot. Like, I literally felt like my world went like black and white. I can't even explain that. I've only had one other feeling like that when I was younger and my cat went missing and my dad had actually given it away. That's like the only comparative feeling where my whole world just went like, it just felt like everything changed. My reality was completely shifted. And it was really hard emotionally to be 2 years clean and then have my entire life go from like here to like swap. You know what I mean? Because a death like that, if you're close, is extremely hard.
Yeah.
And 3 days prior, my best friend Ryan had died. He had been using meth, and he was on the run, and he had actually like robbed a federal gun reserve or something and got in trouble. He was looking at a lot of time. He got out on a signature bond and was looking at, I think, like 7 or 8 years total after they went through his court case, and he decided to go use and leave. He ended up septic, and no one would take him to the hospital because they thought he was high on meth. And finally, when he got there, he ended up, passing away within a few days. So that was hard because he was somebody that, although he made a lot of horrible decisions, he was a clear voice for me. He always talked me up. He was always, a good friend. He was always someone who would call and tell me to stay clean, stay on the right path, regardless of what he was doing. And he had been clean for 3 years. So it was like he had literally just relapsed and then died within a few months. So that was awful. And then my ex was awfully abusive. So he ends up like crashing my vehicle. He is horrible to me the night my sister died. I mean, awful. Like slamming my head into the car door because he thinks my daughter's hair isn't washed because it's not wet because her dad didn't wash it. Like, I'm talking stuff like that. Horrible. Telling me I can't talk to his family about the situation the next day because the next day was Thanksgiving and we went to his family's. Like, it just was sick. It really was. And I just hate to think of what mental health he has because I feel like that is quite high to feel that way when someone's sibling has just passed. But I'm not obviously with him, so, good riddance to him. Yeah, so we end up, breaking up, I think, about 6 months later, and I start working. I'm doing really well, and I'm just kind of like in this motion of life. I'm just kind of going in this motion, doing the same thing every day, feeling really discontent with my situation, even though now I have the license. Now I'm working. Now I'm making good money. But I'm addicted to better things. I'm addicted to the next goal. So, of course, Bree can't just be happy with her, new license. I got to go and do something else. So I start breaking chains because also I wanted to find a way to, carry on my sister's memory. And I did not know anything about the recovery advocate community. I knew nothing about any of that. I was just like, I'm going to share other people's stories so they can hear the voice of somebody who might relate to them. Sometimes my story doesn't relate to anybody, and that's great. Sometimes it does. And when it does, that's the point. If you can reach one person, you've done your job. So, yeah, I end up doing that, and it ends up like jumping really quickly. I'm invited to speak at rallies. Like, people are donating. Like, they're helping me go up to this place. Oh, sorry, my poor plant. I'm like apologizing to the plant. But they're, oh, God, I'm tired. So, yeah, it was just, I don't know. I remember it like blowing up really fast. And here I am, like public speaking. I have no clue what I'm doing. I'm on a stage with like 1,000 people. And I'm just like, oh, okay, I'm just going to talk because that's what I do anyways, right? And it's crazy because my counselor in like, I think I was in 11th grade. He's like, you should be a public speaker. And I'm like, yeah, that's never going to happen. And here we are. So,
right.
It's funny how they always have more insight than we think we know it all. Yeah, but after that, I ended up going to, I think, I went all over the country. It was insane. Like, I ended up going down to Florida multiple times, Georgia. I did radio shows. Like, I went on Tragedy to Triumph. I went over and did one with, like, Ben Fisher, like, For a String of Hope, if you've ever heard of that. He's awesome, too. Like, so many different people that I met in the recovery community just by them seeing the page, reaching out. And I'm like, holy crap, like now my head's getting big. Now I'm thinking like I'm on top of the world. And then I get invited to go on the Dr. Phil show. And this was like the height of my life. I'm like, all right, this is amazing. Like, I am literally living out a dream I have tried to do for years. I have probably emailed this man 38 times. And then I get invited, right? I schedule my vacation because I already had a vacation scheduled. So I end up pushing it from the 16th to the 23rd of March. Now, listen to what else happened in March. Coronavirus shutdown. So I go to Florida, and I'm in Florida on the 19th. I quit my job to go on the show. Quit. Full on, just was like, they couldn't give me the days off. See, I'll get another job. Went to Florida. Went to go speak at another facility, which was a rehab. They canceled me because of the shutdown. And then I got canceled a day or two before I was supposed to go to LA and go on Dr. Phil. So they're telling me 2 weeks. And I'm like, oh, okay, I can wait. And I'm already mad. Like, I'm already like, this is stupid. Corona, I'm fine. I'm good. I'm not going to get corona. And then, we ended up getting quarantined and stuck out there, I think, for like 3 weeks. We were there for 18 days. In Miami. Yeah, I know. I always end up stuck in Florida. As soon as I go down there, I never come back. But
stay away from Florida.
It's crazy. It's okay. It's warm. It's fine. So, yeah, I ended up, not going on Dr. Phil. I came back and my life just turned into a normal life. I was home watching the kids with my boyfriend, his daughter. You know, I was getting more acclimated in my relationship. He wanted me to stay home more. And I kind of became very mentally ill. Like, I did not like being home, confined to the house. I didn't know how to be like a mother. I didn't know how to do laundry and do things like that. I'm not going to lie. It took me a long time. So the good thing with all of this, I started back into breaking chains and speaking and doing Zooms about 3 or 4 months ago when I finally verified my identity on Breaking Chains. They wanted me to verify my identity to get my page back. So I end up doing that, and I start branching out more. I stopped working all the time, and I just have been a lot happier. I became more organized in how I do things. Like, I started to realize I needed to take a planner and like write things down and get things settled out and get our bills paid on time. Because at one point, my bills were like, oh, bills. You know, here I am speaking in Florida, but I can't pay my bill on time. Like, it makes no sense. And my mom's like, honestly, I thought you were going to completely fail at that part of life. Like, she's like, I was scared because you couldn't do normal household things, but you can do these immaculate things that because you put those aside, you know? And I'm like, well, who cares? I can just hire a maid. That's what I used to say all the time. I'll just hire a maid. But that's not life. You know, we have to start small. We have to start learning how to organize ourselves in a way that our brain works, because our brain works differently. Some of us can't think normally all the time. Some of us are really scattered. I'm scattered brain. I have to literally like rub my fingers to remember what I'm talking about in the first place so I can bring myself back to that topic. And there's ways to do that. You can look those things up if you have trouble with that. Because, you know, it is what it is. You know, we don't come out unscathed from addiction. There's probably a change in your body that happened from you using. So we have to work with those things. We have to worry about our health. Our health is not going to be perfect forever. So go to your doctor. I hate it too. I'm a nurse. I hate the doctor's office. He doesn't even ask me to put a gown on because he knows I ain't gonna. But it is what it is, you know? And you form relationships. You find doctors you trust. You find outpatients you trust. I still go to outpatient, whether it's online or not, you know? And it's been 4 years. I don't have to go. My insurance, you know, they're fighting with, they don't want to pay for me anymore because now it's been 4 years. But that's okay. You know, you go to your meetings. And when I went through a period of time where, you know, someone close to me had a relapse, and that was absolutely horrible. And that's something that if you go through that, you have to be sure you're in the right position to handle it. And if you're not, it's going to get a lot worse for you, especially. I can't hear anything. I think it phased out on me.
It's because we're
Sorry,
not talking.
guys. Can you still see me?
Can you hear us now?
We can see you.
Yeah, we can hear you. See you.
I can't see you, but I'm going to keep talking. My screen froze. But, yeah, so overall, I think if you really work on your coping mechanisms and you keep your head up, you work on your confidence, there's a lot of ways to do some inner work. And that is like the biggest key to like finding yourself, is basically looking into what you like to do, finding new things you like, giving yourself time to do those things, making out a plan when you want to do something. I'm the type that jumps right into something head first without thinking about it. And I've learned to kind of take smaller steps, maybe a little bit.
Smaller jumps.
Smaller jumps, yeah, smaller jumps. That would be more appropriate. But, you know, we learn as we get older. I'm 25 years old, and it already feels like I'm honestly feeling like I haven't made it far enough. People are like, oh, shut up. But really, that's how it feels sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
And it's true. Like, we get in these positions where our confidence is low and we feel like we didn't do the right thing. And like, I remember a couple months ago, like I was getting really organized, doing the bills and everything. And it kind of felt nice, but at the same time didn't feel like me to be like that. And now I've kind of incorporated that into all of my objectives. My screen is still completely froze and it says I'm on 2%. So this might shut off on you guys.
It's okay.
I'm working on that part. I need a new phone.
You'll be back on
here
part
we are.
anyway.
Yeah. Well, that's about the end of the whole thing, I guess. I'm at the part to now where we're going to expand. We're going to do counseling. I have an office space that I have found. I am going to need counselors that are obviously licensed, and we're going to do some of that online through telehealth. So the biggest thing with that is there's multiple offices. We're going to start kind of small. We're going to have to build, obviously out of network for a while. And then eventually we're going to work our way to in-network, working with Medicaid, offering yoga services online and in person, obviously meetings. So there's going to be a lot of things that are going to go down. And that is in Pennsylvania, Erie, Pennsylvania. So if you're close and you want to be a part of this or you want to work online, you can feel free to reach out to me because I need people lined up for when we get this really going, which hopefully will start next month.
Yeah, Sean Leary, he's another part of our team, has his own YouTube channel. Me and him have had a conversation on the side about where this could eventually go. So he'd be a cool one to bring in on the team too.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm open to pretty much anybody who's good and ethical. You're good. Come on in. I mean, we're going to run some fundraisers. There is a lot of things that could go out of this, and I think there's only up from here, honestly. I don't see any way that if we work together, this could fail. So, we have a halfway house in Jamestown. It's an LGBT community house, so it is, LGBT friendly, but also if you're, not gay, you can live there as well, but it's for men. And that we are in the process of getting credentialed, but we do have the sober living going on there right now. We're doing some changes with it, getting it contracted, going through the whole process of getting it running smoothly. But that is what my boyfriend's doing, and he is going to be the one that kind of works with making more halfway houses and getting them kind of flipped and rebuilding. But yeah, I mean, he's a recovering addict too. You guys can do any of these things. You just need to talk to the right people and ask for things, get a loan, but make sure you use your money wisely. Because I was going to go on vacation and now I'm going to get a business. I mean, I have two options, one that leads to more vacations in Florida or one that doesn't. So my phone might die on you, but
that's okay. All right, we can wrap it up here so we don't lose you mid-sentence or something like that. But we'll bring you back on soon, and then me and you will continue and us and talking, and we're going to make some stuff happen around here.
Yeah, we are. So stay tuned, guys. Some big stuff's going to go down. And check out Pain to Purpose, too. They have a lot of online equipment. They have a lot of online programs for fitness and for counseling, and we have a ton of groups on there as well.
Yeah, for sure. I love it. Well, thanks for coming on. We will talk to you very, very soon and keep everybody posted. Like she said, we're going to have some fundraisers coming up. And also, directly after this live stream, y'all, we'll just end it here with her before she closes out. But right directly after this is the Zoom meditation. You'll find that in the text chat in the Discord. The link is in there. We'll repost it again. But right after this, we're going to have that meditation with Jeanette and Cherie from Australia and West Virginia. So figure it out. We'll be in there soon. So let's say the Serenity Prayer, and then we'll all just get out of here. God, grant me this
serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference.
Awesome. All right, y'all. So I'll see you here shortly. And until next time, do not put yourself in a high-risk situation. Stay strong. Work your program, and remember, we recover better together.
Bye, guys.